The soft mod just got an update and a complete revamp, so I think that this is a great time to go over the lore behind the mod and the backstory of each of the characters. Now, the mod takes place in an alternate universe where Boyfriend is still the main character, but he is known as Benjamin Ferris. And one of the first differences that we see in this version of Boyfriend is that he doesn't actually want to be a rapper, but rather he wants to be a painter. And this is where a lot of the drama starts in this mod overall. Now, this mod takes place in the city of Stars, which funny enough is the name of a city in California called Brisbane. And we learn pretty quickly that Ben has run away from home with Pico at his side. And the reason that Pico is with him is because the two of them are actually a couple in this mod. And while we don't immediately know why he ran away, we can imagine that his home life must be pretty bad if he would rather live on the streets than be at home with his family. Now, with that being said, it doesn't take long for Ben's father to actually find him. And if you are like me, this guy gave you bad vibes immediately. Now, Father Ferris used to be a famous rapper, and even though he's retired now, he still has a ton of fame and money. And he even set up his life in a way as to allow Benjamin to become a famous rapper as well. You may also have noticed that Father Ferris doesn't seem to like Pico, calling him a street rat. And from my understanding, the reason that the people in this mod all think that Pico is a bad person is that they believe that he was responsible for the events in Pico's school. And it seems that Ben is the only person that knows that Pico didn't actually shoot the place up, which may also explain why Pico ended up dropping out of high school in this universe. Another reason that people think that Pico is a thug is because of how he dresses, but in reality, his clothes are very normal. And the only reason that he wears a face mask is so that he doesn't inhale spray paint when he actually goes out and does his graffiti art. Now, after the final battle with Father Ferris, Ben and Pico are supposed to be free to go, but then we see this scene.
You didn't actually think I was leaving empty-handed, did you?
No, stay away from me.
Get your hands off of him.
Pico!
Understanding that Father Ferris had no intention of letting Ben go, the pair head to an abandoned mansion so that they can hide out. And this is where we see two of my favorite characters, those being Skid and Pump. Now, there isn't a lot of lore for them in this mod in particular, but they do help us understand how famous Ben's parents are, considering that the boys watch them on TV all the time. And something else that I found interesting is that the boys each have a sweater with a part of a word on it. And when you put the word together, it says ayúdalo, which I believe means help him in Spanish. My Spanish speaking people can confirm that in the comments. Now, a fun fact about them is that apparently Ben and Pico end up becoming Skid and Pump's babysitters at some point, which I just think is cute, even though we don't get to actually see it in the mod. And just to be clear for my people who are not familiar with Spooky Month, at the end of their week, Pico says this.
Where are the kids?
I don't know. They said something about candy and ran off. Don't worry, though. They got a ride from someone driving a white van.
They what?
The boys are not in actual danger here because the person who actually picked them up is probably Frank, and Frank is basically like friends with their parents, so he won't actually hurt the boys, or at least he hasn't done it up to this point. Now, in this week, we also see this mod's version of Monster, but it has an interesting twist to it. From my understanding, this monster doesn't represent PTSD like many people initially believed, but rather it actually represents how Ben views his parents and the trauma that they've put him through. And while we haven't been introduced to Mother Maris in the mod at this point, she plays a large role in his abuse as well, but that will become a bit more clear in weeks 4 and 5 of the mod. But one thing that I will say about Monster right now is that if his design choices have the same meaning as they did in version 1 of the mod, the red hands and the red smoke coming out of his mouth represent the ways in which his parents actually abused him. The father actually represents the red hands because he would actually hit Benjamin, while the mother is the red smoke, which symbolizes her abusive words, meaning that she likely put Ben through more mental abuse than physical, making them the perfect duo in terms of being the worst parents. But I'll speak more about Monster in week 5. Now, after hiding out in the mansion for a bit, the next move that the boys make is to go to the train station so that they can get out of town and finally put some real distance between Ben and his crazy family. But this is where we meet Grace, who is this mod's version of Girlfriend. And while I know that a lot of people don't feel sympathy for her in this mod, I actually feel sorry for the kid. While we don't get to see her parents in the mod, it seems that they got together with Ben's parents when the kids were young and basically made plans for them to be a couple in the future. In essence, they basically did an arranged marriage for the two kids, and we see that that really took a toll on Grace.
It was supposed to be the two of us since the beginning. You promised. Our parents promised. Mommy and Daddy told me that's the way things are supposed to be.
Grace, is that really what you want?
What? Of course. We were born to be together. That's our destiny.
And while I'm not going to go too hard and disrespect the concept of arranged marriage, because I know that in some cultures it is still very important, I do believe that people should have the freedom to actually make their own choices in life, especially in a situation like this where Ben doesn't even like women. If the two of them went through with this situation simply to make their parents happy, they would both end up being miserable, which would be extra sad considering that Grace and Ben have been best friends since they were children. And just to add on to that point, if the lore of this version is the same as in V1, the reason that Grace wears that baggy sweater is because she has body image issues. And when they were younger, Ben was the only person that really helped her through that, even going as far as to paint beautiful pictures of her so that she could see herself the way that he actually sees her, which is another reason that I have sympathy for Grace. While Ben may not have feelings for her, it makes sense that she may have actually developed real feelings for him over the years. And while Grace doesn't end up with Ben in this mod, I was happy to see that they added a new week for her where she's actually starting to live her own life and make her own decisions. But I'll speak more about that when we actually get to week 6. Now, after their encounter with Grace, the boys are snatched up by Mother Maris and her goons. And while his mom is trying to put on like a face of a caring parent, you can tell that she is just as evil as the father. And it becomes even clearer when Ben tells her that he's not going to go with her.
We love you so much, Benjamin. Why don't you just come with me and...
I'm not going with you.
Fine. Be that way.
I'm sure you can all tell, but when she doesn't get her way, she basically gets a dead-eyed look and her voice loses all its emotion. And once I learned that she was a model and an actress, it made so much more sense why she's able to put on such a good act and pretend like she's a good parent. Now, this week ends with this scene here that does a good job of showcasing the trust that Ben and Pico have in each other. Now, after their encounter with Ben's mom, the couple goes into hiding for a month and manages to avoid his parents until they come out of hiding and end up at one of his parents' meet and greets, which honestly is just bad luck. His parents try to put on their facade again, but it breaks down very quickly.
If you just did as you were told, you wouldn't need to wear that damn sweatshirt all the time. You'd have nothing to hide. You could actually call yourself a man.
It seems that the parents are just willing to say the quiet part out loud now, but I think the most important part of this week is when Monster makes its return. This scene is basically meant to show us that Ben is not afraid of his parents anymore, and it's not going to allow them to control his life. And I think that this scream here is basically supposed to be him finally being able to stand up for himself and face his parents. And now that they no longer hold power over him, this monster that used to haunt him is now fading away, meaning that he and Pico can finally start to live their life together without being hounded by his parents. Now we move over to week 6, which is a completely new addition to the Soft universe, which basically shows life after Ben and Pico escape from Ben's crazy parents. And it starts with them doing a double date with Grace, which is great for a few reasons. The main one being that it shows that Grace has moved on from Ben and also that she is willing to go out and live her own life. Now her new boyfriend is this guy who's basically like this universe's senpai. He seems to have issues with Ben, even showing up to the date holding a knife and having a desire to make Ben pay for taking away Grace's happiness, which of course is why he challenges him to a rap battle. I don't know if the development team meant to make this guy unlikable, but it seems like Grace found herself a loser, if I'm being honest. I suppose he does get better in the end when he beats Ben in a rap battle, but the sad part here is that I feel like if he would have lost, he likely would have continued being a jerk and just kind of been insecure. One good thing that I think came from this battle though is that it shows that Ben really can stand up for himself now and isn't afraid to do so. And we also get to see that Grace has started to rebel against her parents. Because I mean, she actually does lie to her parents so that she can go on this double date. So all in all, I think it turns out great for everybody in the end. Now, fun fact about this week is that if you look in the background, you can actually see soft versions of OG characters walking by. Now, I couldn't identify all of them, but I know I saw Garcello and Annie for sure. I think that these two right here are Ko and GSU. This right here is the Red Among Us, obviously. Here we have Carol and Sunday. This is my boy Goku. And this right here, I believe, is Ruby and CJ. Put down in the comments if I missed anybody. Now, with that being said, the mod also has a epilogue where we see Pico and Ben have a duet while looking over the city. I really like this because they use Pico's actual vocals, and it was just a super cute scene if we're being honest. This is beautiful. This is gonna be my favorite song right here. And I may be wrong here, but I think this is also the first time that they each say that like they love each other. Now, the main mod then ends with Pico getting a call from his father asking him to come home for Christmas. And Pico and Ben basically decide to go meet his parents together, giving the pair a happy ending. Now, there are a few songs in the free play and one hidden song as well. And the first song is called Promise, and it is BB Panzu's version of the soft mod. And if I remember correctly, he only made one song, and it was based on the train station scene in the original mod. The second song is called Rolling Girl, and it is based on a Miku video by the same name, and was honestly one of my favorite songs in the whole mod. I'll go ahead and put like a side-by-side comparison in the video here so that you can actually see the similarities. The next song is called Lag Train, and it is heavily inspired by the music video by the same name. I know the art style may not be for everyone, but I thought that it was well done. And the hidden song in the mod is called I'm Crashing Out, which is this song with Soft Goku. Apparently there's only like a 1% chance that he pops up in your playthrough, so I didn't get him in mind, but I saw that Community Game was actually able to unlock him. All in all, I thought that this was a fantastic update, and I hope to see more old school mods get a revamp like this. But with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to go check out my playthrough here, and we will see you tomorrow with another video. Thanks for watching. Peace, peace.